Okay, this is part 2. We left off, sorry, one moment. We left off with doing some pedal markings right here. And we just finished getting those all in and they were a little bit sloppy. So we go in, I did Control 2 to get zoomed in a little bit more so I could be closer to the notes themselves. I can double click on anything when I'm in selection mode. If I were already in Smart Shape tool, I'd have all these little handles right here is what they're called. You'll see these little diamond ones. And when you're on the diamonds, that's going to be the length of your object. So I'm going to use the left arrow and just get that right perfect right there. You can see that looks pretty good. If you want to go even deeper, you can of course go view, zoom, and just go right in there as much as you'd like. Control an equal sign, it looks like, which is, if you look on your keyboard, that's just Control plus. That's another great way to get in there. And just really make sure everything looks perfect. Something that I love to do is just what you want to do if you want to have something that's professional looking. So you'll see that. I click the main handle right here to bring the whole thing down a little bit. And this is looking pretty good, but I need to go down a little bit more. And there we go. I'm going to go to the left a little bit too. All right, I feel good about that. And now I see right here, I'm going to go a little bit more that way. This is something I can do just to align all of these, just to make it all perfect. You can of course drag as well, but I find that I have more precision when I use my up and downs. You'll notice that sometimes there's a little bit of a resistance on it because it's trying to do auto formatting the same time that you're not. That's when you'll probably want to use your mouse because your mouse doesn't deal with all those auto formatting issues that you might be running into. So while this is really powerful software, it's certainly not perfect software, and but it is at the professional level that people enjoy in our industry. So you'll notice that it is consistently bringing those lines a little bit inward because it's just doing it by the beat. So I do think is a whole helpful because we needed to go to the beats, but it does mean that we're gonna have to pull these in a little bit in all of these. But there you go, that's a perfect line right here. Control 1 brings me back to a faraway view, and voila. If I want to get rid of all the things I see, I'll just go back to selection mode and I can see that. That looks pretty good. I'm happy about that. So there's some pedaling for you. Of course, if you wanted to end this pedal like we do in the score on this side right here, you'll notice that it goes over a little bit longer and then it closes off at the end. And we do have that option as well. You might have already seen it there. If I hold Control while I'm in the custom line tool, I can go and choose it. You'll notice it's actually would have been the better choice on this one. So it still has that, and then I can bring it into the beat 1 of my next bar. It's a little bit far away for me to see what I'm doing, but Control 2 brings me in a bit more, and we're pretty close. Just I might zoom in a lot bit. Here we go. Want my perfection because that is the type of person that I am, and that's how I keep getting jobs. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about dynamics, shall we? So dynamics are pretty simple. Half of them are in that Smart Shape tool, and the other half are in the MF up here, which is expression tool. Way more than just dynamics there, but it does include those. You'll notice at the starting of our piece, we have an MF. MF, mezzo forte. If I click in the expression tool, I could just click in and go dynamics, and there it is. You'll notice I put it on the bottom staff for my piano. I actually probably should have put it up here at the top staff. We like to have dynamics between the staves for a piano. Okay, but now we'll go over here. It has MF come in again. I'll show you the shortcut. All I have to do is with my mouse, again, it's nice to have a mouse with this, hold 5, and there we go. Okay, now it says the word legato after this, and that is actually also an expression tool. I'm going to double click in. I have expressive text legato. You can create your own, just type in whatever word you want, but we're going to use this. And you'll notice from the E to the G, we have a crescendo, which is under Smart Shape tool. Anything that needs to be dragged out is a Smart Shape. So there we go. That dragged out very nicely there. You'll notice that we have on this next part a decrescendo that's happening. So I'm going to go to the decrescendo and make that happen. You'll notice that in this score it seems to have moved it past the note head. I think it is fine to be where it is right now. This one does want it to go past the note into maybe the next measure, so I will drag it out to the edge of the measure like that. But yeah, if I want to do exactly what they did, you could do it at the edge of the note head right here to say that we're not immediately getting softer. That's kind of a decision that is artistic to you of what you want to do there. And we're going back into a mezzo forte. I'm just going to use the shortcuts because it's faster for me. And we go on and on. You could actually program yourself some shortcuts for going into between these tools so that you don't have to keep clicking on the Smart Shape and so forth. If 5 is mezzo forte at the top on this tool, then 4, going back here, is forte, 3 is fortissimo, and if you haven't done much with piano, you might be like, why is there an FF over the rest? Well, the FF is referring to what's beneath it, right? So that's why we have that there. And then we have a mezzo piano, which is if 5 is mezzo forte, then 6 is a softer dynamic. So we have mezzo piano there. We're back to 5 mezzo forte for these keyboard shortcuts. And that is good until the end of what we've done so far. So not too hard to do these. Now you might want to align these dynamics. Well, what you do for that is you can highlight as many measures as you want. You might have to do some more fine tuning because every page, every system is going to be different. But it's very good to have everything on your line be aligned well. I go up to plugins, go down to TG tools, go to align, move dynamics. You have 3 options. If you're worried that you're going to bump into things on your staff, you won't want to click nearest. If you're worried that some of the dynamics you put in are going to drag you too far away from the staff, you wouldn't want to do farthest. And if you see that everything looks generally right and you just want to straighten things out, you'll do average distance. So based on what you're wanting, you can choose which one there. Sets of values, kind of probably a waste of time, unless you're really technical and know what you're doing. So let's just go average distance, go. Everything now is lined up on all of those systems, you'll notice. Go close. So yeah, everything on all those systems is now aligned very vertically. So that is exactly what we want. It's kind of an essential. Now notice right here, the MF is a little bit big to fit because it's perfectly centered on the starting of the measure. So I'm just going to push this a little bit that way. And that's something you might have to do with some dynamics just simply because of spacing issues. If these measures were more spaced out, you wouldn't have such a problem, I'm sure. But for example, these are spaced out more, so you can see those don't have that issue. Okay, so I think that's all that you'll need to know for this. Maybe one other thing is right here, you have the expression tool. You'll notice that when you go into this and create your own thing, you'll be able to type in that starting dynamic. But what if you forgot? Well, or if you want to do others later on, well, you just double click in with that expression tool and you'll see we were in dynamics. We went to expressive text. There might be times when you want to talk about techniques, like for example, if you want to have pizzicato in your piece, you should go to technique text and it'll actually make the sound be a pizzicato too. If you want to specify left hand or right hand, you have all of those kind of options here if you noticed. Our expressive text is what we talked about before. You have rehearsal markings here you can use, but there's also the tempo marks. So you'll notice that it created this one automatically. You can go create your own. So it has an automatic text font here. You could change it to whatever you want. Just don't make it too fancy or else no one can read it. And for the tempo, I'm going to type insert note, choose that half note we already have, equals, and then I'll choose what it has in the score, 80. Half note equals 80. And you'll notice right here, if I go to playback, it says match playback to metronome marking text. So it already knows that I put a half note in and that I put an 80 there. So I don't need to go and do anything here. And I click OK. And then I'll have the same thing I have here, and you can click assign to that. I can assign any of these, of course, by doing assign or just clicking enter. Okay, that's it. I saw most people were using the text tool to type your names in. That's great. You should do that, or you can handwrite it if you want to do that after you print it out. But yes, if you use a text tool, you can just type in text like that. And there's more to talk about for some other day, but honestly, we've covered quite a bit. I think maybe I'll throw out one more last thing. You have your key signature tool that simply does key signatures. This is a atonal-ish piece, kind of fun piece. It's keyless though. If you wanted to like go into major or minor, you can go up here and then change it with sharps and flats. Pretty easy stuff. I'm not going to worry about it. The other one is clef changes. You have this one right here called the clef tool. And for example, if I want my cello to go high, which maybe is something you'll want to do, you can double click here, do these, but also all these numbers. You can just type in the number while you're in clef tool and change it over. So if I want this to be treble clef, or I change my mind, 4 is going to be bass clef. You'll notice that when I do it manually, though, it's doing one measure at a time. So maybe just it's really easy to click in and just choose the tool. But if you want to have one measure this, one measure that, you can use the numbers or just highlight over the measures that you want to be something. And it gives you the courtesy clefs as well. Okay. So I think that's plenty for you to know for this assignment. Take a look at your articulations. You'll notice that if you click in that there's way more than what we've showed today. You'll notice that we have fermatas, we have those combination types, right? Accents with staccato, accent with tenuto, and so forth. You have, these are not the same trills that go for a long time. These are just ones you'd put on the short note because articulations are very about note to note. And here are our bowing markings, right? Our down bow and our up bow. If you want to deal with harmonics here, you can do it there. You have the artificial harmonic, you have that natural harmonic for the octave like we talked about in class. You have tremolos right here. A different way of doing pedaling that I don't prefer, so don't do that. Yeah, plenty of things you can look at and explore. Your left hand pits could be that plus, but I think it'd be better to do this plus right here. These are called Bartok pizzicatos. Anyway, just giving you a lay of the land, plenty of articulations to deal with. Okay, so that is a part 2 of our tutorial, and I hope you learned something.